Hi again. Today we're talking about the functional unit and reference flow. When we compare two or more products that serve the same purpose, it is necessary that we clearly define what this purpose is in a measurable way. So for example, when we are comparing the disposable cup alternatives to the ceramic cup, the purpose of the product is to hold coffee. How do we quantify this? How much coffee are we talking about? The different cup alternatives may have different volumes, which is something to consider. Beyond the volume, and particularly from a life cycle perspective, surely it is important to consider that the ceramic cup can be used over and over again. In other words, the ceramic cup has a longer use phase and will ultimately hold way more coffee in its lifetime than a disposable cup. You might also be thinking to yourself, hey, wait a minute, although the ceramic cup will hold more coffee and will be used for longer, it needs to be washed repeatedly. How does all that water and soap to wash the cup compare to a disposable plastic cup or a disposable paper cup, which doesn't need to be washed? And what about all the plastic or paper waste per cup volume for the disposable cups? If you are already thinking along these lines, then you are well on your way to becoming an LCA practitioner. Coming back to the question of quantifying the purpose of a cup, in LCA we use a functional unit to facilitate such comparisons. That's the key word. Give me some jazz. Functional unit. A functional unit is a measure of the function or purpose of the product. In performing an LCA, we as the practitioners decide what the most appropriate functional unit will be. The functional unit should serve as a reference according to which all the environmental exchanges or inputs within our system boundaries can be scaled. Coming back to our coffee cup example, let's say that our functional unit is 200 mils of coffee served. We can then compare our disposable plastic cup, our disposable paper cup, and our ceramic cup according to this functional unit. But how do we account for the fact that the plastic and paper cups are disposable and the fact that the ceramic cup is reusable? Since the ceramic cup will be used over and over again, let's say 1,000 times, we will need to divide the total inputs for the ceramic cup in our product system by the number of cups served in its lifetime. In other words, we need to scale our ceramic cup inputs to the functional unit of 200 mils of coffee served. Okay, so what about the differences in volumes between the cups? I hear you ask. If each cup holds a different volume, then we need to adjust the factor by which we multiply the inputs. What we end up with is a separate reference flow for each of the products that we compare. Another key word. Give me some jazz. Reference flow. A reference flow is the quantity of the specific product alternative that we need to be able to fulfill the functional unit. So, let's look at this example more closely. We have a disposable plastic cup of 150 mils, used once, a reusable ceramic cup of 250 mils, used 1,000 times, and a disposable paper cup of 200 mils, used once. If our functional unit is 200 mils of coffee served, then we will scale all the inputs for each alternative accordingly. We multiply by 1.33 for the disposable plastic cup to go from 150 mils to 200 mils. We multiply by 0.8 to go from 250 mils to 200 mils for our ceramic cup. But don't forget, the ceramic cup will be used 1,000 times. So we also need to divide by 1,000, or in other words, multiply all inputs by 0.0008. Finally, the disposable cup, paper cup, is multiplied by 1. At this point, you should realize that life cycle assessment is completely linear. So what do we mean by linear? Linearity in LCA means two things. First, LCA is linear in the sense that we can proportionally scale the reference flows without considering non-linear phenomena such as economies of scale. In fact, LCA was designed this way to make comparisons between different products easy to apply. LCA is linear in another sense as well. And this comes back to how the life of the product is considered. The product system we consider starts from the processes that are necessary to create the product in the first place through to the product's end of life or disposal. In other words, from cradle to grave. In this sense, life cycle assessment is not circular or cyclic, but rather a line from beginning to end. It's linear. So then the question is, how does it fit into the concept of circular economy? Later on, we will look at how LCA can be applied to circular products, but first we need to understand the basics. As a thought experiment, try to identify a product that you use on a daily basis, like the coffee cup example. If you had to compare your product to an alternative product that serves the same purpose, then what would the functional unit be? Think about different types of light bulbs, perhaps, or even sources of light, like candles or lanterns. The question is then, what would be the appropriate functional unit? What is the functional unit of the product you want to compare? So to conclude, do you still remember the key words for this clip? Functional unit and reference flow. See you next time.